Hey YouTube, Coppersan here. We're going back in time again today to a time where MapleStory still had PvP. And then I don't mean that PvP minigame that comes back every now and then. No. I mean actual full-blown character versus character, player versus player PvP. 11 years ago, with Professions, PvP was added to MapleStory with the Chaos update. This was the first bigger update after that Big Bang update, you probably heard of that one before, and was divided into various parts. When PvP was first released, there was a free-for-all and team deathmatch. Each battle was fought on special maps, complete with hazards and power-ups. There even was a random buff that would either grant you invincibility, transform you into a monster, or damage your character. During these matches, every now and then, a player would be named the champion, and defeating that player would net you additional EXP and points, but if you as the champion survived for a minute, you would get additional points and EXP instead. There was a ranking system to show off your PvP prowess, and competing gave you gallant emblems. Those emblems could be used to craft items and purchase PvP accessories, which at one point were considered to be pretty valuable and definitely worth your time. They even had their own set effect and increased your attack when you were fighting in PvP, giving you a minor advantage over those PvP noobs who didn't farm enough emblems yet. Later in the Chaos update, Capture the Flag was added for even more PvP diversity. Funny enough though, PvP was already available starting at level 30, with everyone being grouped together depending on your level to increase the fairness. You can't pit a level 30 against a level 180. Potential on items was blocked as well, unless you joined the Legend League battle that allowed for the use of all skills and item potential, but this was locked though for higher level players only. PvP was also extremely broken. MapleStory just released most of the resistance classes with the Big Bang update, and the Legend update was underway, releasing the Cannoneer, Demon Slayer and Mercedes class. This together with the crazy amount of skills players had access to, it was super hard to balance PvP. I remember battle mages and duel players being way too overtuned with their skill kits with all their invincibility frames. Even a marksman could hit and stun you from a screen away, while some other classes couldn't even get close to you before they died. And of course there also were issues with a lot of hackers using God mode and whatnot. But still I can't help but have very fond memories of this time. Probably because I played on an Avid and those are considered pretty OP. Most PvP fights were a big mess though. People were just throwing out skills trying to kill each other as fast as possible. There wasn't that much tactic really. Especially in MapleStory Global there also was a fair bit of lag, which wasn't very helpful for those players with high ping. Then later in the same Chaos update, another PvP mode was added called Ice Knight. This was another super fun PvP mode where one player was transformed into an Ice Knight, unleashing skills to try and destroy the other players, while everyone else had to try and beat the Ice Knight. However, I remember the Ice Knight never really winning, and just getting overrun by all those Maplers still was pretty fun though. After the initial hype for PvP, things did die down. Especially in servers with less players, it was pretty hard to find enough Maplers to even start a round of PvP with. Due to all the different level gated leaks and constant release of new classes and content, Maplers were often just too busy to even bother with PvP. The XP wasn't that great either. And the Empress gear, which at that time was the best in slot gear, became a lot more accessible, and with more accessories being added, PvP gear was becoming less of a necessity and more of a novelty. The lack of player engagement marked the end of PvP mid-2012 after the Renegade update. This one also released the Jet class. However, this all changed when PvP got a big overhaul and was reintroduced in the 2012 update Champions. This update revamped classes and reopened the battle square with a new battle mode and only one battle mode, Grand Battle. Realizing their mistake and the issues players had finding Maplers to battle with, changes were made to make things more streamlined and more accessible. The Grand Battle mode was a free-for-all battle with a max of 6 players per map. There were only 2 types of battlefields as well, one for Maplers between level 70 and 119 and one for Maplers level 120 and above. No more level 30 Maplers could enter PvP, so they could focus on other activities. These battlefields also had no time limit. Players could simply enter and leave whenever they wanted, grabbing EXP and other rewards if they managed to defeat other Maplers. The Grand Battle was only open at certain times per day as well to force all Maplers who wanted to PvP to all play at the same time, making it at least easier to find enough people to PvP with. This did solve some of the issues that PvP had with being too segmented. Also, player health and defense were adjusted to make it a bit more fair for everyone. Except for the Cygnus Knights who weren't even allowed to participate in PvP. Again, except for Michiel, who could laser Maplers to death if he wanted to. Towards the end of the year, with the Rise Against update, a new battle mode was added called Gladiator, which besides some new rewards and a gauge that could be filled up, didn't really offer that much new. Then later, with the introduction of even more classes like Luminous, Kaiser, Angelic Buster, Xenon and Demon Slayer, changes to the job advancement levels, 3rd job going from level 70 to level 60, and 4th job going from level 120 to level 100, the addition of hyper skills and whatnot, balancing became even more of a nightmare nightmare for PvP. Now I actually looked for this date far and wide, but I can't find the exact date when PvP was removed, but I'm pretty sure it was just a few months after the Grand Battle was added. Similar to before, there just wasn't enough interest in PvP, and all the class and skill changes made it very hard to keep it balanced. PvP didn't stay away for too long though. In 2014, another attempt was made to add PvP, this time to the boss arena. Taking control of a boss monster, Maplers could unleash their boss skills to destroy any Mapler that stood in their way. Unless if it was a well-funded Mapler, those could technically one-shot you. Then it wasn't that much fun to be had when that happened. This PvP mode was also fairly unbalanced, as funded Maplers with a ton of potential could absolutely destroy boss monsters, while weaker Maplers barely did any damage to the bosses. And unfortunately, again a few updates later, this boss arena mode was removed as well, marking the final end of PvP. It looks like proper class PvP is not coming back anytime soon to MapleStory. The Legends Return event, which was the closest thing to PvP that we had, actually hasn't returned for the last 2 years. But who knows, that might come back at one point. At least that was sort of fun and more balanced PvP as well. What would you think of a more balanced PvP mode being introduced in the game, or would you prefer more PvE player versus player oriented content like the old Monster Carnival PQ and the Ghost Ship PQ where players would race to complete it the fastest? If you have any ideas or any fun suggestions, feel free to let me know in the comments. Do you still remember PvP? Feel free to share some memories as well. And that was all for today. As always, many thanks to our members for making these videos possible. Thanks to Niels, Coninck, Raar, maar waar, Sebastian, Hanoy, Ryalias, Terry Kim, Vareese, Mora, Wiley, Historycanon, BackSpaceOTI, Saffronyx, Ziggy, Flidiot, Knifesu, Cloudfix, Gusus Rodriguez, Digby, Vira, Trevor, Michael Menchaca, Ratius, Justin Vale, Silvio Nato, Afterlord_MS, Striker Elk, Tidal Pun, Radical Jaws, Ricer RU, Sir Tito 655, Mathias Simonsson, PC Game Life, The Passenger, Martin Panzik, Conrad Crystallis, Ace Light, Mr. Anarch, Ben Wolf, Max Bernhardt, Muka 1017, BMB King, Scotty Flies Fast, Priscilla, Brendon Cam, Vake Botnet, Fecko, Victor Sundstrom, ceemak, Only, Rashid Alharudi, Gerlando Belavia, Gianfranco Calderon Canavero, Lucky Beats, Matthew Def, Gummy Bullet, Lord Fazil, and Sputs D. Kaiser. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay safe and happy mapling.
The age of heroes will bring us together. The age of artisans will make us strong. The age of battle will break us apart. Do you have the strength to fight back? MapleStory Chaos.